y'all. For those of you that don't know, my name is Jamie Lynn Smith. I am a mother of two. They attend kindergarten in Henry County, and I'm going to try to answer some questions that I asked that were clarified for me last night after the special call board meeting. So apparently the reason that none of us are getting to speak is because when it is a special conditions like COVID, everything is virtual for the meetings. So that's why we were handed out those public comment slips. I think we were all misinformed based off of what we see from our surrounding counties. Henry County apparently operates very different on that platform. I don't know whose decision that is. We can sit in the audience, but we can't speak when they are allowed to speak about different things. But that's how it's always been, I guess, or since COVID started, so it's kind of is what it is. After the meeting last night, I guess I got some attention on my Facebook page, and some board members were pushed to my page, which is fine. Somehow I became a vocal box for this. Totally cool with that too. But here's some of the main problems. So when they announced that they were going to let masks be optional, apparently they were bombarded with parents begging for masks to be mandated. This does not shock me. Our county is very divided. Our country is very divided. So I'm not surprised. But the ones in support of the optional choice to be able to fundamentally parent our children, which is our freedom, would have had no reason to email about the mask mandate that didn't exist. It was optional. So, of course, you would have gotten a bunch of people that oppose it versus people that don't. So you're once again, your decision making was skewed. Now, special sessions like yesterday, that was only about budget. It was very short. The original meeting I did attend. I was not allowed inside. That was a utter cluster, you know what? They've apparently never had that happen before with the way that whole meeting went down. So apparently the special sessions, these meetings, which I tried to go on their website and find a meeting schedule real quick before I did this, but I couldn't find it. I seem to have a hard time navigating the Henry County Public School site. I don't know if I'm the only one, but I do, which is funny because I seem to be able to do other things fine. But, you know, I'm a brand new to the school system parent, so I'm not familiar with the site. I'm still learning the site, so that's probably has a lot to do with it. Informed last night by one of our school board members, who I respect very much so. Her name is Sophie Pope, and she helped answer some questions for me. And that is like their job, okay? But during these meetings, especially under these COVID conditions, they can't answer any questions. They can't interact with the public, which sucks because I feel like if anybody had their voice taken away, they would be upset. We've seen this happen all over the world, all over the country, and people have their voice taken away, they're upset. And that's exactly how I felt. I know and still feel to an extent, and I know that a lot of parents still feel that. So I do feel like there's a lot of pent-up frustration because of that. Now, at the original board meeting, when everything went to hell in a handbasket, they gave out slips of paper that said you can comment to, and it's like an email. It goes to publiccomments@henry.k12.ga.us. Each board member, from Sophie's understanding, and she works with these people directly, they're doing everything in their power to not go virtual. That's why we were seeing some like burst of virtual, but not countywide virtual, because their hope is, just like on all the other countries, that it will do what it has shown in graphs. It'll go shooing and fewing. So we can only hope that that's what happens in our area. I am going to clear up some of the stuff that I asked about on my lives yesterday. So once again, when they have a special called meeting, there is no public interaction. And they hardly ever call a special meeting. They have regular scheduled meetings, apparently like every 2 weeks. Like I said, I tried to find a schedule that I was not able to find. A lot of people had their voice taken away. So as I was talking to Sophie, I suggested that maybe in her position, she could talk to, you know, the superintendent, the boards, and maybe we could do a video thing, which I'm totally cool with putting together. So if you would be interested in that. Woo, God love my children, but they keep coming in here and I keep losing my train of thought because I'm super ADHD. Okay, so if you would be interested in participating in a video project, just to give your opinion, message me. I know I have a lot of people that would be willing to do this and just video themselves less than a minute on what they have to say or what their issue or concern is. Because what has happened with these COVID rules, Henry County is not allowing public interaction. Point blank, period. It's not happening. Do I know whose decision that was? No. Apparently, a lot of the mandate stuff isn't even something they necessarily vote on. Like I said, I'm not sure who makes those final decisions on that. The meeting yesterday was about the budget, and they are increasing the budget by $2 million to give bus drivers raises, which they deserve. They're giving them a $2 raise. From what I understand, a $1,000 bonus. They're going to back pay them from the start of school. The whatever, if they're a first year, if they're a 10-year, they're gonna get the raise. So it's just gonna bump the pay scale up. That's great. But buses have been a problem in Henry County for a long time. I used to ride one. I rode 87-7. We had 3 and 4 kids to a seat. We went through 2 bus monitors a week because a bunch of baby kids on that bus. But anyways, I digress. There are some buses that do have AC, some don't. They have put the special air filters in the schools. I don't know how often they're being changed, but they are there. No one voted on the mask. So apparently how that works is the Department of Health and the, I guess, head of Piedmont, they are the ones that get in contact with the Board of Education, the superintendent, and they have some other people that, I guess, I don't know that they help make the decision, but I'm sure there's some kind of influence. I wouldn't think it solely landed on Mary Elizabeth Davis' shoulders, but maybe it does. I'm not real sure. But apparently, they were asked to not let kids return to school without masks on their face. And when it went to level 4, supposedly, I believe this because I believe Sophie, they got the phone call that afternoon and it was like, boom, an email was sent out, and basically the hospital said that they were full and on diversion. And so please mandate masks in schools. So my problem with this is a few things. Masks originally were like, everybody wear a mask, everybody wear a mask. Then it was, you don't need a mask unless you're sick. Unless you think you're sick, then you need a mask so that you don't spread your germs. And then it was, if you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask. And then it was vaccinated, go be around. You're fine to be around the unvaccinated. This is all on CDC. I have screenshots. Just screenshot heaven. Then it was, which I have another theory about that all in itself on why they said that. Because if you go look at the websites, the vaccine, the Pfizer specifically actually says it shits. So that would be the only reason why they would want those two to group together. But, you know, I'm not really sure. I'm just reading the research and looking at the numbers. Then it was 2 masks. You got to wear 2 masks. What? Like, how inconsistent? How can we follow and trust our hospitals, head of staff or whatever, our head of Department of Health, when they're getting their information from the CDC and all that and what's happening locally? How can we trust that when it's been flip-flopping anonymous back and forth on all these different things? So I think that's where a lot of parents are also mad, because they're like, hey, we've been living our life for the last however long. Like, we never slowed down. We never stopped living our life. I guess the first 3 weeks we did back in March of 2020. But after that, I was like, game on. And my husband did recently have COVID. He was very lucky. He takes decent care of himself. He's pumped him full of vitamins. We started treating it very early. And I think that's another thing that has to do with a whole nother can of worms. But I think this go home and wait for 14 days puts people at risk, because they wait till it's too late to get treated, and then you can't reverse what's already been done. So, yeah, there's that. Oh, another thing. So my husband used to work for the Henry County, and the Board of Commissioners, like Henry County, like building department, DOT, all things Henry County are one entity, one budget. All things education are a separate entity, separate budget. They're not friends at all. Like, they don't work together like you would think they would. I guess individual cities have individual budgets. Somebody needs to talk to Stockbridge to see how they raised $20 million to get this stupid amphitheater built. Somebody needs to talk to Henry County and see where they got all the money to buy that airport thing, whatever they did like 2 years ago. Like, where the school board comes into budget, or where the school Department of Education comes into budget, you have local tax, you have state aid or whatever, and then you have federal, which state aid I think more falls under, like, if you have Title I schools and you need like free reduced lunches and all that. But we have free lunches this year for every student in Henry County, free breakfast and free lunch. So I didn't really ask if that was because of part of the emergency situation, or if that was COVID money, or I'm sure there's an answer to that somewhere. We all just assumed that it was COVID money, but I can't say that with 100% certainty, because I don't know. I'm not seeing the paperwork on that. No one really wants to wear a mask, I would hope. Like, who would want to do that? Who would want to do that? The problem is the parents that didn't want to wear a mask didn't reach out and said their voice when this started, because we didn't have a reason to. If you agree with what they're doing, you don't have a reason to. You don't have a reason to email every board member. You don't have a reason to email every member of Brian Kemp's staff. You don't have a reason to email every press release complaint deal when they move to level 4 management. You don't have the need to do that. So that's where I think everything went wrong. It happened so fast, and I think there could have been a little better plan on that, you know? Like I said, what do I know? It just seemed very sudden. It seemed very sudden, and it seemed very politically driven. It seemed very sneaky, even if it wasn't meant to be that way. And now the board is become a giant whipping post. Which Sophie's like, hey, that's why we're here. We're here to answer questions. We're here to do this. But you have to reach out to them on like a personal level. Like at the meetings, it's not going to work. So that's where I think maybe this video project would be a good idea. For if people want to email, they can email. If people want to send a video message in an email, they can. If people want to send me their video message, and I can make it into one video and I can put it up. I can put it on YouTube. I can put it wherever. I'm pretty savvy with social media. I suggested this to Sophie. I mean, I don't know how it works when you're a board member. I don't know what processes they have to go through to get things, but I'm like, if Mary Elizabeth Davis can send out a mass text message with a YouTube link that tells us how wonderful the school has been for this first and second week of school, then there should be a way to send out a massive text message that said, if you have an opinion, send your video, if it's 90 seconds long, if it's 60 seconds long, to this email right here. And that way they could look at them. And that way the people that have a voice that was taken away would then again gain their voice. And I think a lot of parents would feel better. They felt like they told somebody how they felt. They told somebody what was wrong. They told somebody some things. And at this point, I don't even think it's going to matter. I mean, just being honest. Because if they're getting their information from the head of Piedmont, who just mandated vaccines for their employees, and I know of several clients that are quitting left and right. When they say a hospital is on diversion, I've lived in Henry County my whole life. I know how many times a hospital goes on diversion. Probably about every full moon, to be honest with you. We just had one, so maybe that was the last spike we'll have. But it's a busy hospital, and it's a busy hospital because people come from other cities to that hospital. They don't want to drive to Atlanta, so they come from other areas in, or they like this, oh no, don't take me to this hospital, so they come to this hospital. So like, I've been treated at Henry several times. I had my kids at Henry. I've had multiple surgeries at Henry. I've even had emergency surgeries at Henry. I have friends that work at Henry. I'm going to probably reach out to them and see if what I have been told is correct. But what I have been told is that they're on diversion and they're begging for people to take all these extra protocols because it's not that they don't have beds to put them in, it's they don't have the staff to nurse the people in the beds. I could be wrong. I'm just repeating what nurses are telling me. Now, there's some hospitals in Georgia that have four beds in small areas for COVID patients. So at 4 beds, they're full. Okay, so here's my other question. So if you go to data.redding.com, data.redding.com, you can pull up every hospital in the state of Georgia. You might be able to pull up multiple states, county, and it'll list them. And it'll tell you it starts back in January of 2021. And it'll show you the 7-day average, the sum of the 7-day, and the total number of cases. So if you do that and you go back and look, you'll see that in January 15th of 2021 at Henry Hospital, at Henry Piedmont, they have 313 beds. They said they were 76.9% capacity. They had 199 beds full. Their ICU was 85.8% full, and they had 34.3 people, and their number of beds is 40. It says that was 126.1 people. Okay. If you go to April 22nd, it says 313 beds, 179 of them are occupied. Out of the ICU, 32. People with COVID, 22. Go to currently August 13th, or that's the last update. I keep thinking I'm going to watch on. It's not August 13th, it's August 23rd, but the latest thing says out of 113 beds, they have 204 full, 80%. The ICU has 35 out of the 40 beds full, so the 88%, and that the number of patients is 116. So the number of patients with COVID is lower than it was in January. Yet the percentages are higher. I don't know. Something seems off. But anyways, there are 0 pediatric patients at Henry Piedmont with COVID. 0. I just clicked on Scottish Rite just to see, and they, back in January 15th, they had, their numbers of hospitalizations were low. They've kind of stayed about the same as their beds being full. If you look at all of those, it'll show the number of beds being full, and then I guess it shows the percentage of that that's COVID patients, if I'm reading it correctly. Scottish Rite has confirmed on January 15th of 2021, 437 cases. As of August 13th, 596. So I don't know if that's a cumulative or if it's the sum of the 7-day average new cases, because some of that gets kind of confusing. I have to really sit in there and look at it. I didn't have my glasses on and I was doing it on my phone. So that's where I have some questions as to you're wearing masks. Everyone's wearing people are wearing masks and your numbers are not doing what you want them to do. It's not preventing anything. It's just making people feel better. So I would like to know, if we can't complain to the school board about it because that's really not their thing, who do we send it to? Do we need to send things to the head of the health department? Do we need to send things to the head of Piedmont? So the medical team that gets with Dr. Davis, that's who seems to decide whether we mask or not. So then you got to realize who are those people? Who are those people? Are they people that follow the science and wear 2 masks and have been vaccinated and do all that stuff? Like, what's good for you, it might not be good for me. What's good for them might not be good for them. You don't know what people deal with, go through, live with. You don't know what people have seen close family members go through from doing that kind of stuff. So I'm just saying, I think the video thing's a good idea. If not, I guess we're going to have to start dropping more emails, making more phone calls. I was told that if we had any more questions, if anybody had any questions, just to reach out and I can give you a direct phone number. Sophie's not even she's not even my district. My district is Holly Cobb, something like that. She's also the chair of the board. So I mean, they do those awkward like recess things. It's very official. Like it's just awkward for everybody because we're like, what the heck is going on? And then they have to just like get up and leave. And then they come back. We still don't get to talk. There's no public speaking. We're just sitting there watching them robotically go through these motions. That is what's been mandated for them during COVID, which I don't know who decided that procedure either. I don't know if that was a voted on thing or if that was just a decided on thing, but I will tell you that there was one consensus through the meeting last night. They repeatedly said, now you can choose to believe them or not, but they repeatedly said the last thing they want to do is go virtual countywide. That's the last thing they want to do, which that was good to hear. But it was also good to hear that masks were going to be optional. And we all know how that went. So I think they're doing the best they can. It seems like they are having their hands tied with some things. I've had a lot of messages about schools not having hand soap. I told her that. I told her everything that everyone has messaged me with. There were concerns that were really scary things, like if a school doesn't have soap, like, okay. The extra cleaning procedures that they're saying are happening, and that, I mean, they can't be everywhere. There are only so many people. They cover a district, so each member has a lot of schools that they cover. So this going to have to fall back on the administration and the teachers to report it. So report it to your administrators, and if your administrators aren't doing anything about it, then I would report it to the next higher up. Because I don't know how else the squeaky wheel gets the oil, and I don't know really how else to go about that, other than just keep going up the chain. But once again, you got high school students coming home saying they're sitting on top of each other in the lunchroom with no mask because they're eating. So what's the point if you're sitting there eating, putting things in your mouth, than sitting in a classroom with a mask on when you're 3 feet apart? And why can't we do the herd immunity like some of the other counties do? I don't know. These are all questions I have. And I mean, they're hard questions because I don't think, you would like to think that they have answers, but sometimes they don't. Sometimes they don't. But they have had people out that don't normally do things. Some of their chief leaders, some of their chief lead officers, serving food in cafeterias, doing things. I mean, of course, they all can't hop on a bus and drive a bus because that requires a special license. But like I said before, like, it takes a village. So I understand that public school provides things like lunch and a free education. It ain't really free. We pay taxes on it and all that, but provide education, they provide transportation. But during this time, everything's so crazy. If you can take your kids to school, just take them. Just help the bus drivers out, if for nothing else. If you're mad, I know, get mad. You can be mad. Put that in a 60-second video, send it to somebody. Send it to me. Send it to your district person. If y'all want to send them to me, like I said, I'll organize them and I'll send it in. But you got to do something. We've got to do something to help, to be heard, and to not be painted in the light that people want to paint us in. Thanks, all the news stations. By the way, the person that was losing their shit was for masks, with her mask around her throat in the first meeting, screaming and yelling at everyone. And if you want the clips of that, I can dissect them out of my other live video, and I'll gladly send them to you. So anyways, I guess that's all I have. So it's not a lot. It's not really a lot of good information. I say keep fighting. But as long as the head of the health department and head of Piedmont keep saying those same things, even though it shows for the entire year that the number of beds filled to capacity doesn't really change. Not really much at all. This whole year, they've been in the 70s to 80%. And one time, they were in the 90 percentile, which was back right when we started school back the last time, or right about that time. I don't remember if it was right after they started back in that February or right before. It was like 95. But not everybody taking up a hospital bed has COVID. So remember that. And keep fighting. Smart. You have to fight smart. You have to do things the right way. Can't go out and act like a bunch of fools. You have to do things the right way. Because, you know, that's how the world works now. I would say turn the other cheek, but I'm not that type of person. But I will say what I need to say. Yeah, so that's all. I hope this helps somebody. A lot of people's. If it, share it. I'm also going to include my, can I just say, badass of a best friend that got to speak at the Fayette County Public School Board meeting last night. And when I say mic drop, she did the damn thing, okay? I'm going to include that in this video too. I'm not sure where. And I know that's what we want to do as parents in Henry County, but we're unable to because of the way it is organized and the way it is ran via these meetings because of COVID. But whatever. It's just whatever. It is what it is right now, and there's not a lot we can do about it except keep doing what we're doing. Pushing forward. Email out, videos out. Don't be yelling, screaming, acting a fool. Just get your opinion out. Write it down first. If you want to write it down and you want me to read it, I'll do that. I'll include that. I'll send that in. I'll post that. Whatever y'all want to do. Message me, text me. If I don't respond immediately and we have a mutual friend, tell them to get me, because sometimes my messages go to the other folder and I don't see them. And I actually found like a lot of them the other day, and I was randomly trying to get them answered. But I was hoping we would have a better outcome tomorrow. But hey, for bus drivers, we did get a good outcome. That was a very good meeting for them. Kind of sucked that they didn't get to hear it in person because, you know, they were on routes. Maybe they could have done the meeting like the last one at 7 o'clock so the bus drivers could actually attend. At least most of them, because some of them are running 4 to 6 routes and they're not getting home till close to 6:37 anyways. The last thing they might want to do is come to a meeting where they can't speak, but it would have been nice for them to have the option. I think that's just my opinion. Take it or leave it. Agree with it or don't. I don't really care. Either way, it's fine with me. But, you know, do you. I'm going to do me. And we're going to keep fighting this fight. So, see y'all soon. Bye.
My name is Jamie Anderson, and I reside in Fayetteville. I have multiple children in the school system, had until I pulled them. When I originally started this speech, it was filled with facts and statistics. Facts like more children died from suicide last year than from COVID. Facts like the state of Georgia reported over 10,000 child abuse cases last year. 86 of them were victims of sex trafficking. Facts like this year alone, 26 children under the age of 14 have been victims of homicide compared to the 12 children that have died from COVID in the last 20 months. Or the fact that you want to mandate masks, and on any given box of face mask, it blatantly tells you that it will not protect you from the very thing you are trying to prevent, but you don't want to hear facts. On Friday, Rochelle Walensky, head of the CDC, issued a joint statement with the United States Department of Health and Human Services. Our plan is to protect the human people and stay ahead of this virus to prevent hospitalization. We are seeing concerning evidence of waning vaccine efficiency over time and against the Delta variant. Additional reports from our international colleagues suggest increased risk of severe disease of those vaccinated early on. Given this body of evidence, we are concerned that the current strong protection from severe infection, hospitalization, and death could decrease in the months ahead, especially at those who are high risk or vaccinated early. So I ask you this, if the CDC is now admitting they are wrong about the vaccine's efficiency and wrong about it preventing illness and transmission, what happens in 6 months to a year when they were wrong about masking our children? What happened when our kids develop serious health issues and delayed development because you forced a mask on them? Will you then pay for their medical bills? Because I will not. Now, the real irony in all this is that you think you have the actual authority to mandate these things. I hate to break it to you, but I do not co-parent with the government, and I do not co-parent with the school board of education. Sit down. You did not carry my children for 9 months. You did not birth them. You did not soothe a colicky newborn or change thousands of diapers. You did not teach them to walk, bandage the first knee scrape, or console the first heartbreak. That was all me. So when it comes to matters of their health, that will also be me. Not you or the CDC or any other parent will tell me what is best for my children. I have spent years taking a holistic approach to teaching my kids the importance of eating healthy, getting a good night's sleep, good hygiene, and to be a decent human being in general. In a minute. I will not throw all that down the drain because some people put all their trust in pharmaceutical drugs and government entities over their God-given immune system. There are numerous school districts and private schools across the state who do not mandate masks, and they do not quarantine perfectly healthy children simply because of a close contact, and they have managed to stay open. At some point, you have to admit that what you are doing isn't working, and kids will suffer more from your inability to adapt to this virus than from the virus itself. Thank you.
Thank you. You have a lovely daughter.